Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's football. The round one, not the egg-shaped one. Yes, soccer, football. Those great games. Everybody's here today. Me, Mr. Williams, Mr. Panas. We're all bringing you the football news, the football predictions, what went on in last week's games. It's all here. It's all here in one compact package. Yep, said package. This video, and to see that video, you need to get yourself over to YouTube. Check us out. We're there. While you're there, if you could subscribe, it'd be a big help to us. And ultimately, it's a big help to you. So here we go. This is CookieCast. You can't see the forest for the Tees.
Incidentally, your beard is getting out of control.
Mine?
It is massive.
What a way to start.
Mine? I've trimmed
It's
it.
massive.
I've trimmed it.
Not trimmed it on the bottom, have you?
No.
From this weird,
How about
in facial hair related matters, in a kind of weird way, from this angle, it almost looks as if James has shaved off his moustache and put it on my face.
There's a little bit of face matching in it.
The tash bit's a bit more blonde than the rest of it. And obviously, have you actually got a tash, or is it just different coloured?
Or are you drinking chocolate milk?
You've actually done a tash, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm going to leave it for another 5 days.
Wow.
And then I'll donate some money to the cause.
Do you know what the funny thing is? It doesn't not suit you.
Well, this is the thing that, like, every now and again, Amy just sort of like says, "It's not terrible," but I'm not taking that as a compliment. I won't be keeping it. Let's put it this way: if I could grow it into something,
You'd have to go for the full handle.
Yeah. So obviously the idea is that you're supposed to. I'm saying this is like not really podcast related, but it sort of is, because Movember's very much linked to the football fraternity. So, because you see a lot of footballers grow a moustache in November. So,
Carroll went for a big old handlebar at one point, didn't he?
Who?
Andy Carroll.
Oh yeah, his was proper dirty though. His proper looked like the I want to say the Hetfield.
Yeah.
Oh, his was pretty Hetfieldish.
Nice.
You know when Triple H had that sort of one that so he started there and did that.
That is the Hetfield.
Track the jawline.
That is absolutely the Hetfield.
He had one of them going on.
Somewhere I've got a T-shirt that says the evolution of Hetfield, and it's just the silhouette of someone's head with like different hair and beard through the years. It's brilliant. It's a bit big.
So yeah, so if I can get to the point where I can shave it into something, then I'd be tempted to keep some form of facial hair. But on one of the previous podcasts, I believe Mr. Moore pointed out the fact that something had crawled onto my top lip and died. So
You won't. I mean, even when you're not trying, you always look a bit tashy.
I think that's just because for some reason that's just where it seems to grow the heaviest, which is weird.
Yeah, it's absolutely the opposite for me. But then again, I'm not upset I can't grow a tash. But I think rather than stopping it in November, you leave it growing until we can see each other face to face.
Interesting.
Whenever that might be.
Well, depending on the 6 days, 7 days.
Absolutely not, Paul.
Well, so about
Legally binding.
Tomorrow we'll know.
Yeah, we will. Anyway, get away from political cast and back to football cast.
So we're probably about eight minutes into the podcast as we speak. So welcome along, everyone, to another enthralling episode of You Can't See the Forest for the Tees. Obviously,
sponsored
we're
by
past James's technical issues now.
Sponsored by Movember. or a sponsor of Movember, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah, we'll go with that. The hamster's started turning his wheel again, has he, James?
I don't know what. Well, to be honest, I mean, I'm in the kitchen rather than the office. Maybe it's just a bit of a black hole. I know.
I feel left out.
What gets me is Paul's in the kitchen. He doesn't have a table in the kitchen. He just literally sat facing the wall.
I was going to say, just looking at the wall.
I've got the laptop on one of the.
He's straddling your fridge right
The
now.
fridge.
No, I'm not straddling. I'm just sat in front of it. I'd show you around, but kitchen's a bit dirty, and Amy will absolutely kill me. So.
It's amazing. So, football-related information. What happened in the last week? Any major deaths?
Well, obviously, as the eagle-eyed that can see the clips will be able to attest to, we're recording today on the 25th of November 2020, and arguably the greatest footballer of all time has passed away, depending on what side of the argument you fall on. But yeah, Diego Maradona has passed away today.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Is it a bit mental that, was it about 3 weeks ago, he had a brain operation which was successful, and then an heart attack's got him?
see, when I first heard that he passed away, I thought it had been something to do with complications with his surgery.
Yeah,
I didn't realise that
it
he'd
was
come
assumed
through
so.
it with flying colours and stuff like that. So. But you're always likely to have heart palpitations when you've been,
Do you know what I was surprised at? I mean, I should have been able to work it out based on when he was at World Cups and stuff. I was surprised to hear that he was only 60.
Yeah.
He did not look only 60.
He looked only 60 a while ago.
Well, his first World Cup was 82.
Was it?
Yeah, because he played at 4. So he would have gone 82, 86.
Was the World Cup in 78 in Argentina then?
I think so, yeah.
Because I know that he just missed the squad for the home one.
Because he'd have only been 18 then, wouldn't he? Or possibly
Or even maybe 16.
17.
Yeah. But
No, you're right, 16. No,
yeah, I think...
No, 18. Because he'd have had to be born in 60, wouldn't he?
Yeah. 18, right, okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But I remember reading something about how he only just missed the squad, but they still took him along. And he like crowd entertained and stuff at like half time and shit. Then they just like doing
He did.
skills and stuff. Yeah, he was part of the thing, just not in the playing squad.
There's loads of clips out there of people just saying they were just mesmerised by like his warm up before the games and stuff.
He did those weird keepy uppies, didn't he? Where he booted it, like 100 foot in air or whatever it was,
and then just
let it drop and then just belted it up again.
Yeah, just kill it dead and stuff like that. So I think he was one of the sort of, well, from my sort of recollection, he was one of the first people to sort of incorporate like a really elaborate warm up into his like repertoire. So you just see people were like saying that half the entertainment was going to watch him play, but you'd get a little bit of entertainment in the warm from him and stuff like that.
I mean, you should have known then that he was batshit crazy.
Yeah. Well, South American, innit?
Mm. And Aguero's married to his daughter, isn't he?
I think they're divorced now, but so yeah, for a while Aguero was his son-in-law.
Mm.
And because everyone was saying that when Aguero had a kid, that he's got some family to live up to, because his dad's obviously a really good footballer, and his grandfather was arguably the best footballer of all time. So he's going to have a bit of a battle in his hands trying to sort of be the best footballer in his family. So, but yeah, R.I.P. Mr. Diego.
Indeedy doody. Anything else other than the multitude of games that we have to cover?
I think just by the time we do another podcast, there might be people going to games.
Yes. So, the announcement of the reintroduction of the tier system when the lockdown ends on the 2nd indicated that anywhere in tier 3 is basically still in lockdown, just under a
behind closed doors.
Yeah. Anywhere in tier 2 can have up to 2,000 people there, or 50% of the capacity of the stadium, whichever's lowest. And then tier 1, which is obviously the lowest possible tier that you could be in, 4,000 people, or 50% of the capacity of the stadium, whichever's lowest. So, for example, when Hartlepool United get to the point where they're no longer in tier 3, which is probably quite a way off, because as far as I can tell from the statistics that I saw earlier today, they were second only to Hull as most number of cases per, I think it was like 10,000 people or something like that.
That's why people are saying that, like, when they look at York, they're hoping they look at York and not Yorkshire.
Well, I think what
because of the areas that we're in.
Well, I think that they're trying to do with York as well is trying to get York sort of sub-categorised, so they can have York and then they can have Heslington.
I wonder why.
So, yeah, because apparently a lot of the outbreak of cases in York was centralised to the university area. So
Can't think why.
It'll be interesting.
Anyway, yeah. So you might get people at games. I mean,
Yeah,
at this point in time, you've got more chance to go into a game than you have to go into the pub.
Be a garden.
Unless you all want to turn into fat bastards, because if you want to go to the pub in tier 2, you've got to have a substantial meal. Not a problem for me and Paul. Nice standard fare for us going to the pub.
Oh, God. Do you reckon? Is that so? Is it a case of you have to have a substantial meal with every drink you buy?
I don't.
Again, standard fare for me and Paul.
Because I'd take that. I'd take that on.
Really?
I'd give it my best go.
Is that not like getting a bag of nuts?
Beers eats food.
Or a pint and a bag of nuts, please?
You just do that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like if you were going to the Lamb and Lion, for example, a little bit of a soft plug for the Lamb and Lion in York. You'd obviously buy pint, little portion of whitebait, please. Perfect.
I don't like whitebait.
You should. It's well nice.
So everyone tells me, but the one time I went to Lemon Line and tried it, it was awful.
We simultaneously managed to advertise and diss the same place.
No, it's a very nice place, just whitebait is awful.
I can't say I know what it is.
All wrong.
Whitebait, it's tiny little fishers. The fishiest things you've ever known.
Tiniest little fishes. Basically,
Yeah. And you deep fry them in maybe like a light batter or a breadcrumb or whatever, and eat that shit whole, and it's like
absolutely fantastic.
It's like the fishiest thing you've ever known, man.
So good, so nice.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, join us next week for our next instalment of the culinary cast.
Yeah.
So hopefully, fingers crossed. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, but I can't think of any Premier League clubs that would probably fall into the tier 1.
I think, as much as I said, we might have some people at games, I think from what I've read, as we first come out of lockdown, it's very unlikely that anywhere will go straight to tier 1. You might get some tier 2s.
Yeah. But we'll see. Fingers crossed. At least, even if you can get up to 2,000 people back in the stadium, it's going to be something. It's going to then, trigger a little bit of movement in the economy of a club.
It'd be good for those smaller clubs that can essentially get 50% of their capacity.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that Pools, as an example, I think Hartlepool United just holds just under 8,000 as a capacity. So when they do get to Tier 1, hopefully...
the stadium. Well, half the stadium at Tier 1.
Yeah, they'll be able to open with just under 4,000 because half of the capacity of the stadium won't be as high as 4,000. So.
Have you heard any word on how they'll do it? Is it just like ballot or?
I would imagine for the clubs that have more than half of the capacity of the stadium is season ticket holders, I would imagine they just have to do it based on either ballot or whoever's had the season ticket holders, like whoever's had the season tickets the longest. That's how I'd do it personally. If I was in charge of a club, I would do it based on length of time owned a season ticket. That seems the fairest way to do it for me. Although, obviously, the problem you're going to have with that is older people more risk of contracting the virus and being seriously, affected by it. So that might play into it somewhat. And then obviously you've got families who might have tickets that get taken into account.
Yeah.
It'll be, obviously from our two clubs' perspectives, it'd be 4,000 max. And you'd imagine that's going to be fairly well taken up on both accounts, I would imagine. But
I think prior to lockdown, Nottingham went into quite a high tier pretty quick. So,
well, they've got two universities there, haven't they? So,
if you say so, I knew they had one.
They've got Nottingham and Nottingham Trent. So, I don't know. Wait and see. We've probably said wait and see about 8 times this podcast. So.
Yeah. Anything else since we all got together?
Well, I was going to say I've seen a first in football. I've seen a team score a penalty and still manage to lose a game 1-0. But we'll cover that when we cover the games. All will be revealed, Andrew. Do not worry. Do not fret.
Okay.
Right. I think the only thing I was going to mention was the machine that is Erling Haaland.
Oh yeah, go with that. That stat you found earlier was ridiculous.
Was that just for Dortmund or was that in his full professional career?
I think he said it's just his career.
In his career, what's he been at Dortmund now? Is his second year? Did he join halfway through last season?
Well, he signed in January 2020.
Yeah, and then he played, a little bit wherever he came from. In his professional careers,
because he was in.
Was he at RB?
I think he was at RB Salzburg.
Right. Okay. In his professional career, he's had 91 shots. Was it on goal or just 91 shots?
Haaland has had 91 shots on target in his professional career.
Guess how many goals he scored from those 91 shots on target, Andrew?
It's either going to be 0 or 91.
Right. I tell you what, he's like the hottest property striker going. It's not.
So let's put it this way: if you had 90 shots on target and you scored 45 goals, you're doing pretty well as a striker. That's a 1-in-2 ratio, obviously. James?
70 goals.
That is insane.
See what Paul's underselling this stat, because you said it's really good going if you scored basically half your shots on target. It's really good if you scored in half your games played.
Well, that's what I was referring it to. As in, basically saying if you take it on if you have 2 shots a game and score 1 of them, then you're working to a goal every
Did you see that secondary one that come up in the Champions League now? Because he scored again last night, didn't he?
Ah, did he?
So he's got to 15 goals in the Champions League in 12 appearances. The previous record was 15 goals in 19 appearances, which is incredible in itself. Mental.
He's sort of, if he sort of continues on the trajectory he's on, you could make the argument that like it could be him versus Mbappe in the same way that we've had Messi and Ronaldo.
He just seems. Did you see his 4 goals at weekend?
No, I don't see a lot of German football now.
I just seen it just on the internet when they're obviously giving loads of stats.
Right.
But they were all good finishers. But like the thing in that is that they subbed him when he won 4 goals. I'd be pissed. But they brought on the new wonder kid, he's not been allowed to play because he weren't 16 yet. But they subbed off the guy who scored 4 goals to bring on a 16 years and 1 day old wonder kid. So they've been sitting on, but he weren't allowed to play professional football.
I'm sure there was like a stat or something or a comment that he made where he said that the manager came over to him and said something like, "Are you happy with your 4 goals today?" He was like, "Well, if you hadn't taken me off, I'd have got at least 5." It's like, what an absolute fucking baller! Just like backing himself that much that he's going to basically score every time he gets a chance. So fair play to the kid, like. But yeah, like I say, if he carries on the same trajectory, him versus Mbappe for the Ballon d'Or for the next 10 years could be good.
It's going to be incredible when someone wants to buy him from Dortmund.
Well, like if you think about it, is he already in the realm of he's only going to really go to Barca or Real from then?
Unless randomly he's got some kind of allegiance to one of his dad's clubs. That's what City fans will be open.
Well, apparently he said
Forest fans
wanted to play for Leeds.
Not Forest.
You can keep dreaming, James, if you want.
I always think of his dad as like his main club was Forest. That's the way I think of him.
Right, keep talking. I'm going to do a little digging. I'm going to see how many seasons Alf-Inge Haaland played for Forest.
Right, move us on, Andrew.
Let's talk about some games because with last week's games. Although I say last week, one of them was played mere an hour ago or something, and the fact that we've got 4 games to predict for the upcoming week, a lot of games to cover. Luckily for you, James, your team is first on the docket. So, Barnsley versus Nottingham Forest.
I kind of rather not talk about it.
Yeah, me too.
Do you know what, Paul? Right, so I was texting you at the time because me and Sam were talking about the Norwich game, and at the time he's like, "You think you can get a winner?" I was like, "No." He goes, "You're going to get a draw?" I was like, "Yeah, definitely."
Well, James, if you had got a draw, at one point during the course of the afternoon, I needed an Ipswich goal for £200 on my accumulator, and then Forest went and conceded. So that was nice.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
What was the score in that game?
It was 2-0 to Barnsley.
It was.
Now, obviously it weren't on telly, so I didn't watch it, but from what I heard, we didn't even get hammered. Like, we were like, possibly like the better team. I tell you what though, one of the goals was a right screamer. You seen the goals?
I'm trying to remember now if I did see the goals, because I was doing a family quiz at the same time as the football was in play.
You've got to think, you're not beating Brees with a shit. You know, like it's got to be right in the top, hasn't it? You go back. The first goal's good. Anyway, yeah. So,
can you
name
name
the first goal, James?
Oh, was it the twat you said?
I don't think it was.
I can't remember the goal scorers.
The goal scorers were Styles,
Harry,
and Woodrow.
Oh, so I did get a point.
Yes, you did. You were the only person to take part out of that game. Mr. Williams had a draw. You had a heavy Forest win. I had a Forest win. When am I going to learn? I mean, come on.
See, Andy, your now at you're now at the point with Forest that I am at with the Vikings in the NFL podcast. Keep giving them chances, and they'll just keep burning you.
So you are the only person to take a point out of that game, James, because you correctly predicted that Woodrow would score a goal.
Yeah.
Yay. Which brings us swiftly to Mr. Williams' team, Middlesbrough versus Norwich City.
So, this is the point I was making earlier. So, first time ever I've seen a team score a penalty, the penalty be ruled out because the kicker has apparently hit the ball twice. So a free kick is given to the defending team. Later in the game, about 10 minutes or so after, that team then get the penalty of their own, which the guy taking does not slip over as he's taking it, and scores to win the game 1-0.
Indeed.
Pookie.
Timu Pookie.
Which is one
Not
of those...
even Hugill. Has he even played?
He started the game apparently, but I think he got injured or kicked about a bit and had to leave the field of play.
It's one of those things that, unfortunately for you, your team did not win. On the flip side, you correctly predicted the score, and you correctly predicted the goal scorer. So you took 3 points out of that game, and very much like the Nottingham Forest game, you were the only person to take any points there, because James went for a draw, I went for a heavy Middlesbrough win. And
You're on drugs, man.
I wish.
But I was getting messages. So did you watch the game? Was it televised or on your iPhone?
So I just watched the Sky Soccer Saturday feed.
Oh, because they show the goals now, don't they?
They do. They show the goals. So until fans are allowed back in the stadium, I think the whole point is that they will show all the goals from the Championship and selected League One.
Have they binned off all that fucking pay-per-view shit as well now?
Yeah, that seems to have bitten the dust now. I think they've agreed that pay-per-view won't be going ahead.
No.
They must have seen the numbers of people that paid £15 to watch Burnley 0, West Brom 0, or something like that. And I thought,
but no, yeah. When that game was 0-0, I had quite a lot of texts from Sam just going, Middlesbrough are awful. Just like he was not enjoying it at all.
I mean, the next 2 games we're going to discuss might disagree with those points, but who knows? AFC Bournemouth versus Nottingham Forest. James.
Right, so I came home from work and fell asleep at 8:30 last night. So I'm not 100% sure what score that finished. Was it 2 or 3? 2. Right, okay. Both Stanislas goals?
Indeed.
Yeah, so essentially I fell asleep very early into the game, but we were already down by the time I did fall asleep. Because that first goal was early.
2-0.
Something like.
It's one of those things that I'm starting to see a pattern here. That pattern is not necessarily just the fact that Nottingham Forest keep getting beaten. It's that apparently Paul Williams can pick a score out of thin air, and that score becomes reality because...
I don't think anyone in their right mind thought Forest were going to get a result last night.
Well, you and I went for the same score, which was a draw, and Paul was like...
You know I always give Forest extra goals just because I'm mental.
Because you're in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forest were never going to get a result last night.
Paul would agree. Took 2 points out of that game right there. Nobody got the goal scorer. I started to wonder if I'd spelt my guess wrong, but no, it turned out.
Who did you go for?
You went for Solanke, I believe.
I was like, is this the same person? No, it's not the same person.
Unfortunately, Andrew, if we were picking Saturday's game for Bournemouth, you'd have been bang on. So I think he scored in that one.
There you go, you see.
That's a collector's item.
Well, no, because he scored against the Borough, didn't he? I'm telling you, any shithouse that I've slagged off on the podcast generally tends to score against the Borough. It's this time.
So, our last...
Just... Oh, go on.
Our last... Well, go on. Is it something...
Oh, I was just going to mention that Norwich were like cruising last night and nearly blew it. Did you see that one?
Well, they were two up.
They were 3-0 up after like 60 odd minutes.
I saw they only won the game 3-2.
Yeah.
So I thought they'd almost ballsed it up.
I think Buendia got sent off, didn't he? So they were playing with 10 men.
Yeah, it's. I know we're only early, and it's never wise to call the season like in November as it was, but it's looking ominously like it's going to end up being them three fighting it out to go up in it.
Which is pretty much what we said. I think all of us thought Norwich would be there or thereabouts. I mean, Andy absolutely picked Forest for top 2. He might have even picked them for champions.
I believe he picked them for champions because you were oh no. Did you end up picking them as champions?
Me, no.
Because he wouldn't. One of you's definitely picked Forest to win the league.
I mean, it sounds like something I'd do. Sounds that absolutely like something I'd do. Right.
It's awkward.
Middlesbrough versus Derby County. Played moments ago.
Correct.
Paul. What was the score in that game?
Well, Andy, as the podcast listeners and watchers will be aware, I predicted a 2-0 Bournemouth win. I also predicted a 2-0 Middlesbrough win, and for, I was going to say 82 minutes, I was absolutely bang on the money. And then, disaster struck. And Middlesbrough scored again.
Who would have thought Middlesbrough were capable of a 3-0 win?
I know, terrible. So that's the first time they've scored 3 since the opening game of last season.
It's mental as well because you and Lewis were like bitching about how what was this all-out attacking lineup that he'd released tonight.
Yeah, he was like, has he had some sort of like fall or something? He's picked.
Did you say if you couldn't have, you had four forwards started?
So we had Assombalonga, Watmore, which is the new signing.
Roberts, did he play?
Yeah, Roberts and Tavernier. Who all started, and each one of them could have been classed as being like an attacking threat. So it was very. Why
have you got 4 attacking threats on the field and Chubbs is on the bench?
Because I'm assuming he's very much content to play with the one striker at the minute, really. So, but yeah, the goals were scored by Britt. The second was an own goal, although Britt was very close in the vicinity, so he might try and claim that one. And the third was scored by marvellous Marvin Johnson.
I feel like I might have got a point here.
You might have got a point. You might have got 2.
Definitely didn't pick a 3-0 win.
Lucky for Paul's team, but Paul was the lowest score in that one. He only got 1 point for a winning score. Both you and I, James, we got a point for the score, and we got a point for picking Brit. That means for the first 2 games, Paul clear winner with 3. James, you only had 1, and I had a big fat 0. And for the second 2 games, a 3, a 2, and a 2. Before we predict the upcoming games, we will take a very short break. You won't notice it, but these guys absolutely will. Be right back.
We have to like sit like that until it goes.
No, I think I'm perfectly in the exact same location I was when we took the momentary break.
Other than the fact that you two have swapped places. Hoisted by your own petard.
Very much so. Andrew, before we go on to predict this week's upcoming games, shall we settle this Alvinga Haaland, where was his biggest club, or where was his most prolific club debate?
Go on.
This is why we had to take a break. What the viewers don't realise is this has taken Paul 6 hours to find this stat.
James is still knackered. He still wants to go to bed really, really badly. So, Alf Inge Rasdal Haaland.
Who?
Born 23rd November 1972. Place of birth, Stavanger, Norway. Senior career, 90 to 93, Bryn.
Okay, I've heard of those. No, I haven't.
93 to 97,
Forest.
Nottingham Forest. Was he a
4
Cloughy?
seasons.
Was he a Cloughy signing?
No, well, Clough left in 93, so I would imagine it would be late 93, which would have been one of Clark's first signings.
Ah, right. So I was going to say, well, it was going to be one or the other one. It was always going to be one of Cloughie's last or one of Frank Clark's first.
Unless he came mid-season, but Clough left at the end of the 92-93 season.
Yeah. 97 to 2000, Leeds United.
So Forest still winning.
2000-2003, Manchester City.
Forest still winning.
And then he has a break of 8 years for some reason. Probably because his knee was in about 8 pieces from what Roy Keane did to him. And then from 2011 to 2012, he played for Rosserland. However,
So
it's not just about years. Not just about years, James. Not just about years.
Appearances now.
We'll go with league appearances. So, in his 3 years at Bryn, 68 appearances, 4 goals. That's in the league. These are just league-based stats. So I can't find his full stats, just his league stats. Nottingham Forest, in his 4 years at Nottingham Forest, 75 games.
Not great, really, is it? But for me, when he was at Forest, he was a bit of a Phil Neville utility style player. You know what I mean?
One thing I missed off his Wikipedia page: playing position, defender, stroke, midfielder.
And that's anywhere across as well, I think.
Exactly.
So Phil Neville.
I'm
sure he loves that comparison.
The Norwegian Phil Neville.
That's it.
Right, we'll skip over Leeds to come back to it later on.
Oh, fuck off! Is it going to be Leeds the most appearances?
Manchester City, 3 years, 38 games, 3 goals. And then just his little cameo, Rosserland, at the end of his career, 9 appearances, 1 goal.
Is that because Keane fucked his Man City career though?
Probably. I mean, he was... Can't do the maths that quick. 41 when he was playing there. So...
What?
Well, if he was born in 72... No, 39.
Rosserland? Or Man
gone
City?
the wrong way. 39,
Yeah.
he was 39.
At Man City?
No, Rosserland.
Oh, right, okay. Right.
So, do we think that in the 3 years he was at Leeds United, he played more or less league games than the 75 he managed for Forest?
Well, the way you've been building it up, presumably more.
Andy?
Probably more.
Leeds United, 8 goals in 74 games. He had 1 more league game for Forest.
Right. Just to go back to my original statement earlier, though, where I regard him as, like, Forest's main club, I think that's still fair.
Yeah? I don't think he would disagree with that, James. So maybe you can hold out the hope that he does end up, his lad does end up at Forest then.
Can you imagine?
Or him and Grabs up front, it'd be a dream partnership.
No, we're getting Balotelli as well. in all seriousness, I'm sure Jason Lee's got a son knocking around somewhere.
It's just over. Right, let's do some predicting.
Right, let's predict some games. First on the docket, Huddersfield Town versus the mighty Borough. Paul, as it's your team, you will go last. I have already predicted this game, so if necessary, I could go first. James, would you like the opportunity to go before me?
I'll go first. I'm not accused of copying your answer.
Go on then.
I think it's got 2-0 to the Borough written all over it.
It's not going to copy my answer. Just bear that in mind. It's not going to copy it. Good score, that, James. I like that score. Let's see who are going to score those 2 goals.
Brit.
It's interesting. I feel like I've seen that somewhere before.
And Howson.
You fell at the last. I can't talk and spell. Let's just put an A there.
I think he's gone Brit and the casual. No.
Brit and Tav. So Paul, I mean, quick as you like there. 2 predictions done like that. So Paul, tell us why we're wrong. And what the real score is going to be.
I would have gone 2-0, but seems a bit obvious now, doesn't it?
Maybe it is obvious.
I reckon they're on this crest of a wave. They've just got 3 for the first time in about 2 years. They're going to ride that wave all the way through to Saturday at 3 p.m. and they're going to get another 3 goals. They're also going to concede 1 though.
Wow. 4 goals in that game, jeebus. So,
the problem I've now got is I've got to think of a player who plays for Huddersfield. For the Borough,
isn't it going to be the You're Not Janino?
I mean, that would be typical, wouldn't it? Find a scorers. Typically, Sky Bet don't have the scorers on. It's just typical. For the Borough, I'll go for a Brit. Step me down for Watmore.
Why don't you go with the whole hog and go OG for the 3rd?
Can you imagine? And Savile.
Ooh.
Back in the fold. I mean, he was never out of the fold. He was just, I believe, suffering a family bereavement potentially.
Rona.
Huddersfield goal will be scored by Alex Pritchard.
there we go. Done and done. Swiftly moving on to Nottingham Forest versus Swansea City. James, your team, you will go last. As with the previous game, Mr. Williams, I've already predicted this game. How correct that is, who knows? So I will give you the opportunity to go first or second.
Well, didn't realise, but this one's a liver. It's a Sky game
On TB.
on the old television box.
I think you'll find that Forest are kicking off Super Sunday this week.
12 p.m. Sky Sports main event. What a time to be alive.
I mean, it might be on the TV because Swansea are 4th, not because Forest are 17th or wherever we are.
I'm going to go for a slightly optimistic 1-1 draw.
Outrageous.
Goal scorers.
Taylor. Low.
I have gone with a 0-1 with Grimes. Just, why not? James.
I've got 1-0 Swansea with Lowe. Can you see this, Andy? That while I was having my tea tonight, I actually, looked ahead and made some notes.
I like it. It's novel.
I even looked ahead to the outrageous game we've got midweek as well.
Well, lads, from a betting perspective, because you've both picked the exact same results, I'm just going to put a £2 double on. Because what would be the point of putting two £1 doubles on? So
you could cash one out and not the other. I know, it's genius.
Yeah. Oh, bloody hell, I've put Huddersfield 2-0.
That's absolutely not happening.
Right, anyway, so Middlesbrough 2-0, 10-1. Swansea 1-0, 13-2. Gives you boys a double of 81.5-1.
Like that.
Well, we'll either win or lose together.
Indeed. Down by the sword.
Middlesbrough 3-1, 20-1. Forest Swansea 1 apiece at 5-1. Gives me a tasty little double of 125-1.
Okay, well, let's see what the other games have in store, because like quite often there's more games. And we're starting the second batch of games with Middlesbrough versus Swansea City. Exactly. Yeah, literally. They go from pounding the borough. They go over to see. No, they go with absolutely smoking the Forest. Go over to see the Borough boys, and they get beat 1-0. Chubba. James.
I've got this as 1-1.
Oh.
Also low. Again.
Likes a goal, does he?
And Brit. I think that'd be a decent result if you got a 1-1 there, Paul.
I fully agree. Mainly because I have this one down as another 0-1.
So there's Swansea.
Don't know why. We don't seem to play well against them.
Goal scorer.
Are you?
Okay. Quick as you like. I mean, just getting it done. Taking care of business.
Sadly, won't be able to do bets for these as not currently up on Sky Bet.
Can't do, won't do. Another game to predict, and that is Nottingham Forest versus Watford. Watford will be beating the Forest 1-0. Murray to score. Paul.
Glenn Murray! That'll have to be a late goal because I don't think he's going to be starting.
The question is, where is the game?
Is it at the Forest?
It's at the City ground.
I don't think it really makes much difference these days.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree on the Watford win. I'll go for 2-0.
To Watford?
Oh, yeah.
I really hope he's not picking my same... I've gone 2-0 as well, but I hope he's not going to pick my same goal scorers.
Right, let me have a look at the current.
Do you want mine while he's...
I was just about to say, if you've got yours there...
I'm going for Sarr and Deeney.
I nearly went with Deeney.
Don't want to alarm you, Andy, or maybe sway you in a different manner, but Glenn Murray not even on the bench tonight for Watford.
He was at the weekend, though.
Oh, was he? Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well,
Deeney and Murray were both on the bench.
He's old as balls, isn't he? So, probably...
Yeah.
The cold's not very good for him at this time of year, is it? So, for his joints. And I will go for João Pedro.
I nearly went Pedro, because when I've been looking, he's been getting pulled off for Deeney.
It's his birthday every day, is it?
I don't think anyone wants to get pulled off by Deeney, though, do they?
Probably not. Bollocks to it. Stick me down for him to get 2.
Oh, interesting.
It's been a while since I've had a brace on the podcast.
That sound, the sound of the clicking pen means that is all the games predicted for the coming week. Which brings us to the most important, some might say the most important part of the podcast, which is where I say to you gentlemen, any other business?
Yeah, I've got any other business.
Bring it on.
When the hell are we bringing the quiz back?
It's been on the cards for a while. There was a couple of weeks back. Might be more. In fact, I can look. I don't know why I'm trying to remember something that I definitely can't remember. There was a point.
Just while you're looking for this, Andy, is he mentioned this because he's wanting to take on the old man?
I mean, now we're doing it remotely. I can absolutely cheat.
It absolutely was 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, I called that one. 2 weeks ago, there was only 2 games to predict. And at that point in time, I was like, should probably have a quiz for this. But we didn't. So, if...
I might have something for next time. I was reliably informed that Gareth Southgate played some kind of football quiz-based game on the radio this morning, and it was entertaining and should be done on our podcast.
Interesting.
Really?
Oh. Some might say the word tantalised right now. So tune in.
That right there is a hook.
Indeedy doody. Is there any other business?
We probably need to look to fill this little hole in the middle of my screen as well with someone next time.
What?
Well, there's only 3 of us on clearly the screen set for 4.
Thinking another person.
Yeah.
A Matthew Moore or a I don't know any other. A Lewis.
Ooh.
Is it Lewis? Or I can probably find a Norwich Sam.
Or a Sam.
Ooh, didn't even think about that.
Mm.
Yeah, I like it.
More the merrier. Bring it on. Well, there you go.
If none of them can make it, we'll just get Dench on.
To talk about the round ball rather than the hand egg.
If there's a man who knows how to talk about American hand
Does
egg
anybody remember when Ed did a sport-related podcast?
Ed's been on the football podcast before. I just think he sat in the corner of your room just looking pissed off.
It's like, Ed, care to comment? I couldn't care less.
Is there a way they can both lose? Is there a way I can get my life back? Shut up, Ed. You girl.
So there we go. Failing anybody who cares about any of the sports involved, Look out for Lord Dench to make his second football podcast appearance. Bless his cons. Right, well, I don't know about you guys, but I am certainly intrigued by what the next one's going to look like. There's going to be games, quizzes, additional people. It's a plethora, a smorgasbord. Thank you both very much for joining me and informing these lovely people on what the scores are going to be in the upcoming games. Good luck to you both, and thank you very much.
Au revoir.
So there we go. What do you think to that? Another one done. Another week of games gone. Another week of games to come. There's games everywhere, isn't there? Hey, I tell you something, next week sounds like fun. Tune in for that one. YouTube watchers, do subscribe. It helps us. It helps you. Everybody helps. Everybody gets help. It's just help, innit? Everybody jump over to cookiecast.com. See what we've got going on there. And drop us a line. Let us know how you're doing. It's easy. It's fun. So that's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye. And I'll see you then. Bye.